everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Hearthstone Meta Hype. Now I'm here with Ecore. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, just chilling. Waiting for the mini set to come out, having a good time, just grinding Hearthstone.
Yeah, I have to say that I had a really good time talking about what we talked about in your segment, which was the things that we want to see in the mini set. And it kind of made me think when we were going through that. I'm like, there are more than one way to enjoy Hearthstone. And I think that I enjoy Hearthstone differently than you might, and you might, and you might, all the people in the audience. We each can enjoy Hearthstone for many different reasons. It's not just about playing. And I wanted to just finish up what we were talking about over there, which was the idea that the buffs and the nerfs that came are basically, they were just like kind of a preemptive strike to what's to come for the mini set. So what are your thoughts on that? Because we didn't really go into it in much detail. So
I think that saying that as a little bit of a cop-out, like, oh shoot, these nerfs didn't do anything. Guys, what's our plan? What's our excuse for this one? Oh, I know, mini set's coming out soon, right? Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say that this was just to set up the mini set when the real changes are gonna happen. That's what we're doing. Like, no, they just screwed up and they're saying that it was preemptive. I don't believe a word that they said about that, to be honest. I really don't.
All right, so controversy here, but that's what the developers of Hearthstone said. I think I agree with you to a certain extent. Like,
I mean, obviously I exaggerated, to be fair.
Yeah,
but
it's like cop out though is pretty strong. That's pretty good. I like that.
I mean, it's like they screwed up. They were caught in the act, and they're like, okay, let's backtrack and somehow try to spin this to make this not seem bad. It's like the whole battle pass thing. Obviously not as bad.
You see,
but same thing, same idea. They tried to backtrack and be like, oh, it's not that bad. We'll fix it. It'll be fixed in like a month when like these changes come out, which was our real plan all along. I'm like, no.
Yeah. You see, it made me think though. The error does the error occur when they do the buffs and the nerf, or does it occur when they started the Forges and the Barrens to begin with like putting the cards that they put in? You know what I mean? The meta was so broken. Paladin became so broken that the buffs and stuff. How could they do anything? They
nerf Paladin. What do you mean? How could they do any? Sorry, I know. Every time we bring up nerfs and what they should do, I'm like, how does Paladin end up with a higher win rate after the nerfs?
I know.
I'm sorry. I just get upset.
I'm just messing with you, man, a little bit. But what I'm saying is that the error occurred. Not only did it occur in the buffs and the nerfs, it occurred well before that. So they don't really have a chance to. So wait a minute. Let me say that again. They had a chance to make it better, and then they used the excuse to say that there's a preemptive strike. There's more coming in the mini set. So why nerf twice? Why buff twice when we're about to do that? That's what basically we're saying. Now here's the topic of what I was thinking about for this episode is that we all enjoy Hearthstone for different reasons. And I wanted to just remind people, there are some people that actually will enjoy the game because it's a collector's card game. Can you imagine that? Do you believe me when I tell you, Ecore, that people...
Yeah, I know. My dad played this game, and he mostly played as like a collector kind of thing. He didn't grind. He was just having fun with it. So like, yeah. Right. It's a collector's game.
Yeah. So it's like, I go to the website and it's playhearthstone.com. Obviously, you guys know that. So there's a section where it says, "What is Hearthstone?" And it says, "Deceptively simple, insanely fun. Welcome to Hearthstone, the strategy card game that's easy to learn but impossible to put down." I think they did fix that, but it can be very addictive. But and one of the things that they say is play your way. Hearthstone is for everyone. Practice your skills in casual play, climb the ranks in ranked mode, shake things up with crazy fun in the tavern brawls, test your luck in the arena, play solo adventures against friendly, clever computer opponents, and much, much more. And the much, much more that they talk about is like collecting the cards. But the reason why this is really important to me to talk about is that Hearthstone is, for me, is like, I enjoy like the Hearthstone Meta Hype, and I enjoy streaming Hearthstone a lot more than I actually do playing Hearthstone.
Playing it itself,
yeah. Like I do, like I've said this to people on stream is that I I really would rather play when they're watching me play it and then actually just play it on my own. It's just so much better when I stream and you guys like everybody's there. And I don't know why that is. I think it's just because there's like the entertainment for me is in that. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, how do you feel about what is the thing that gets you enjoying Hearthstone? If you do enjoy it, I don't even know. Do you enjoy Hearthstone?
I do enjoy Hearthstone. I think I enjoy mostly the streaming aspect of it, though. I've said this on stream multiple times. Like, there are a lot of times where, like, I do enjoy the game, and when I start playing the game, I'm having a good time because I want to play Hearthstone. But, like, there have been times where, like, about an hour in, I've had Oh My Yogs played against me that Shadow Counsel my hand 2 times. Like, that's what happened yesterday, or 2 days ago by the time this airs. Literally, I played against 2 Paladins, and both times, 2 games in a row, I played a 1-mana spell to bait out the Oh My Yog, and then it Shadow Counseled my hand, and I lost on turn, like, 4, basically, based on something I could not control at all. And I was like, to be honest, guys, if I was not streaming right now, I would just call it a day at that point. Like, my morale was, like, destroyed after that. But I do still have fun streaming and interacting with people in the chat and explaining things and trying out new decks and all that, which is where another part of the enjoyment comes from. So I do still enjoy Hearthstone, but I think that the low lows aren't as low because they're streaming, and the high highs are even higher because people are there to, like, see it happen and watch my reaction. So I think it's like the whole curve is just shift in a more positive direction when I'm streaming, which really helps my attitude and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually enjoy the content creation as well, like in doing like looking or at least looking at like what other creators do and like you do, like what you put out, like when you talk about like analysis. I love doing this show. Like the Hearthstone thing that interests me, like I've talked about this, is that I've been a baseball player and I like baseball a lot and I enjoyed playing the game, but I also enjoyed the statistics of the game as well, where you like to look at like whip, ERA, strikeouts per 9, and like just look at the statistical stuff. And so I get a real thrill out of going to like HS Replay and like seeing like a 65% win rate, card, and how it how it interacts, and like they think, wow, that card when played is like 62%. And somebody had asked me, and it was my friend who watches my streams, his name is El Kama, and he had asked me, he said, how do you know, like sometimes, like how do you guess these cards that are going to be nerfed and no one else picked out, or buffed, you could even say, was first day of school? How did you figure that out? So I wanted to tell you, Ecore, that it was because of what you told me. You said when a card gets to be about 15% played in the meta, it would be like Hearthstone starts to get attention. They start to look at it. First day of school was played like 16% of decks. It was a 60 something win rate. Now, like this card, they're gonna nerf or nerf this card, but it turns out some people call it a buff. And this is a card that needs to look at. So the statistical analysis of the game is what thrills me, and also like predicting the nerfs and the buffs, and like trying to think of the ways that I would balance the game so that, on the contrary, the things that annoy me are the same like as you, like where just the stupid random things happen that like defy probability. You know what I mean? So those are kind of the things there, like.
And like, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Go ahead.
That's something that a lot of people enjoy, though, like the randomness. And I've talked about this with people in chat, and even though most of the people go there and they agree with me, there are a handful of people that are also like, but the RNG and not knowing what's going to happen is what makes it fun. And like, yes, and it can have its high highs, but when the high highs are like, okay, I'm excited to queue into the next game, and the low lows are, well, I'm done with Hearthstone for the day, maybe even the week, like the difference is insane.
Yeah.
Like it feels so much worse to lose because of that than to win. And that's just a psychological thing. Like you remember the negative things more, and you're more impacted by the negative things than the positive things.
Yeah.
Like that's why we can remember all of the bad oh my yogs, but we can barely remember any of the good ones.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And the thing is, though, that's not Hearthstone's fault, is it? It's
Hearthstone's fault.
Is it?
For making it so RNG based and making it like that's what their game is revolving around.
Hearthstone is in control of the way you feel.
Well, they're in control of the way that they make the game, and they've made at this point RNG such a major part of it that it's kind of polarizing at this point. Like you either hate it or you don't, and you like love it. But Hearthstone put themselves in that position. They could have just kept it at like a medium amount of RNG.
I could be playing a little bit of devil's advocate with you here, I suppose. But I mean, the thing is that we really don't. You can't blame Hearthstone Hearthstone for how you feel when you play the game. Yes, they can push the game to a point where you said that it's more likely that you'll feel bad or whatever. But I don't know. I think it's a lot has to do with mindset. It's the game is the way that they've designed it, and you either like it or you don't. You can't expect them to be the ones to get you to like it more. Kind of, I guess you can, but like it's not really. It's it's hard to do, right? They can't make a game that everybody loves. And
yeah, it's never gonna be perfect.
Yeah,
and it's always gonna cater to some people and not others.
Yep. I mean,
and yeah, it's hard. I'm not saying I want it to be perfect. I'm just saying that people being so like split based on RNG is their fault. Like you can play against a priest and their entire hand is random.
Yeah. I used to hate that. I've played against priests and it's not as bad as it was before. It's still a bit random. It's still very random, but it's a different type of.
As bad as it was though. Yeah.
Remember when you'd play priest and they'd like play warlock better or warrior better than you. Like they literally have like all your cards. You figure they're just taking stuff from your deck you're like, wow, this dude.
That was so annoying.
Wow, this priest is really playing a warrior much better than I am. Nice Rattlegore there.
Yeah, when they steal it with like thought steal and all that. It was so stupid.
Yeah, it's just like crazy, and it's just like it had no meaning. But it just was maddening at sometimes. Priest was crazy. The RNG is, and I don't use that term, but I use the probability for the improbable. It seems is what I like to say, because RNG is just card games. It's part of the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't do nothing about it. It's really a battle against probability. The propensity for things to happen, and Murphy's Law, right? If it can happen, it will happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing, right? Murphy's Law it doesn't say if a bad thing can happen, a bad thing will happen. It says if a good or bad thing can happen, it will happen. That's basically what it is. But the problem is that there's too much bad things that can happen from the probability. That's where it is. Even Rogue sometimes tends to be that class that will do the unthinkable, where they'll get the dragon that's out of their class that just makes them win the game, and it's just odd. And there's no way that you could predict that. And I think that's what happens, is that you have a situation where the improbable will happen, and it's not even in the realm of what you were thinking could happen. And like you said, some people like that, but I think that's where the game gets hurt sometimes, is there's just too much of that, right? The improbable.
A little bit, yeah.
Unless you're.
I just wanted to bring up one thing about Omayog and RNG, because people in my chat were bringing this up, and I want to hear what your thoughts on this are. What if they nerfed or reworked Omayog to not automatically cast the spell, but if Omayog triggers, put a spell of the same cost into your opponent's hand, and it costs 0 this turn. So that way, if it's still useless, it's useless. You're not going to use it. It could be a counter, but it won't accidentally Blessing of Authority the opponent's minion. If you get Blessing of Authority, at least you could put it on your own minion. It's just your original game plan was countered. And I was like, that I feel like is a really good nerf, because it still hurts you as the player of the card, because you don't get to play. Let's say you were playing Incanter's Flow, right? And your Incanter's Flow gets countered. Regardless of what happens, that's still gonna be a net downside for you, but you won't also accidentally do something bad for you. So I thought that was good, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, so you're saying let's say you cast you cast a spell, and it changes the spell, and what it changes it to, you get into your hand for 0 mana.
Yeah, so you can at least choose the target.
Right.
Or if it's a bad card and you don't want to play it, I'm never gonna play this destroy your own friendly minion card. I'll just leave it in my hand and it will just never get played. But it will take up a spot in my hand, which can be kind of bad sometimes into niche situations.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good thing, but I think it's cool. It's creative, but then it's exploitable too, right? Isn't it? Because then you can it makes it kind of,
even if you get a good spell, it's probably not as good as the spell you wanted to play in the first place.
Yeah. Firstly, I have to just say, with Omayag, it doesn't make sense for me in the Paladin class, by the way. It's a shadow.
That's also true.
It's a shadow card. You know what I mean? Yeah. Firstly, it's a shadow spell, right?
If anything, it could have been maybe in a rogue. That would make sense, right? Rogue messes with people. It has bamboozle. It has the shenanigans or whatever that changes a card into a banana. It has cards that plagiarize, which punish the opponent for playing certain cards. It would have fit way better into rogue, in my opinion.
Yeah, And the funny part about it too is it's never really that much of a secret, is it? It's like
No, yeah, you know.
you're like it's
you know that it
it's
is.
Oh My Yug, you know what I mean? Because it's a shadow card, right? You get to see if if it's not drawn, right? If it's played from the weapon, if it's you know what I'm saying, like the other secrets I think are holy spells, right? So Oh My Yug is
I think most of them are, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
is a shadow card. So if it's not played for your opponent's hand after they drop down the card that draws a holy spell and it comes from the weapon, it's almost always or it's more likely to be Oh My Yog. So it's never that much of a secret. But there are ways you could play around it, I guess. Like for example, I know I hate the card too sometimes, but like I was playing Warlock and I was actually playing Druid and they were beating me down and I used 8 mana spell and it turned out to be Tidal Wave and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. I played into it. So there are kind of ways you can interact a little bit with Oh My Yog. So I think your idea is pretty cool because it gives you more ways to interact with the card. Think about it.
Yeah.
If that were to happen, that you could changes it to Tidal Wave, which is not what you wanted to have happen. You wanted to actually buff your cards or put a minion out on the board or whatever it may be. Then you could play Tidal Wave again for 0 mana. You could heal up. Maybe that would be useful. But I think that a little bit too complicated for them to implement. I don't know why. It's a good idea, but I just think that.
I mean, I don't know if it would be. Because like not Oh My Yog. Yogg Saron already is a card that puts random free spells into your hand, and they already have Oh My Yog set up to like select a card of the same cost. Like just instead of play it, just put it into the person's hand. Maybe not. Yeah. Just put it into the person's hand. I don't know.
Yeah. Here's a completely terrible solution for Oh My Yog. This is terrible. You can tell me in the comments now, but here's the one that would just be terrible, but I could see them doing it. Is Oh My Yog is if you cast Oh My Yog, it automatically casts for your opponents. Your opponent, it's like a low Master Cho. Your opponent then gets Oh My Yog, and the game just completely goes random.
No. But that is something Blizzard would do.
Yeah, just back and forth, right?
We wanted to make the game super duper fun, so what we decided to do was make Oh My Yog just transfer between every opponent, and you never know what's going to happen ever.
And the only way to get rid of Oh My Yog would be for it to actually cast the spell that it was supposed to, or something like that. You know what I mean? If it doesn't cast a random spell that's not the same, it goes to your opponent's hand. I could see them doing it. It's just a terrible idea, but
what happens if you Oh My Yog something and it casts the same spell? Because like there's only one 9 mana spell in the game and it's Libram of Hope. So what would happen if they played Oh My Yog and then I played Libram of Hope? Let's just assume it was full cost. Let's just say I got unlucky and drew none of my Alders. Would it then replay the same spell? Would it not trigger? Would it just make the spell fizzle because there's no other legal target for it to turn into?
Interesting.
What would happen?
That's a good question. I'm gonna read the flavor text on Oh My Yog. All right, and Oh My Yog says secret: when your opponent casts a spell, they instead cast a random one of the same cost. So
I'm assuming it could be the same one, just it would have to be randomly selected.
Yeah, but remember, like think of it like the mechanic when there's say 1 minion on the board and deal damage to 2 random minions. It'll always hit that minion, right? You know what I'm saying? So it will, or if there's 2 minions on the board, it'll hit both of them. I mean, it'll hit one of them or both of them, right? So in this case, you've selected it down that you're saying that only 9 mana spell is that, and so it seems it would have to cast that because it would pull from the random pool, which would be just 1 card.
Just do the one. Yeah. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
So that's what had happened. Yeah, I mean, we got a little sidetrack out here, but yeah, this is great. One of the things I love is when you do the regular coin. Have you ever seen this? You do the regular coin that you get for going second, and it turns into Innervate. Have you ever seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And
sometimes it turns into Lightning Bloom as well. but
Yeah.
it basically like doesn't change your plans at all. It's like, oh, it's exactly the
Yeah,
same.
so yeah, those are kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, Oh My Yog is, I mean, theoretically is kind of a fun card, but it just always leads to so much suck factor.
But the problem is it's in a competitive, I guess in quotations, competitive card game. Like with actual like tournament like events, and having a card that is so random is just not good
Hold on
for
a
a
second.
competitive game, in my
Wait a minute.
opinion. But that's just me.
I agree with you. But the thing is I read to you what's Hearthstone, and
It's deceptively simple but impossible to put down or something like that. I
yeah,
don't remember.
deceptively simple, insanely fun. Welcome to Hearthstone, the strategy card game that's easy to learn but impossible to put down. Nowhere in there, in there, do they say it's a competitive game. They kind of do, but the competitive scene is definitely exists, right? But the prize pools are small. No one's becoming a millionaire playing it. It's not as big as the HS Esports. It's not as big as some of the other esports games and titles that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I don't know. I mean, I feel bad saying it because I really want, you know, considering that you and I are both Hype Horizon, you know, I'm the owner of an esports team. I just wish that it would be a bigger esports title. You know what I mean? But it's not. And I
But
don't know.
maybe it would be if it was less RNG dependent.
Yes.
Maybe people would like actually take it seriously and be like, oh, okay, so this is a skill or more skill based game.
You mean like chess?
Yeah.
But then that won't be.
Chess has had a resurgence, man. And I'm not saying like no RNG. Obviously, because it's a card game, it will have some. And I like the discover mechanic on a couple of cards. And like, I don't know if you remember this card, but like the Mad Bomber or whatever, the 2-mana 3/2 that does 3 damage randomly split.
Yep.
Like that was a little bit of fun RNG. And like the Blastmaster Boom, his bombs, randomly selecting targets to do damage to. I'm fine with that RNG. I draw the line when it changes, you know, your entire deck into a ton of random spells, or it transforms a card into a totally other random card at the same cost and then makes it randomly select something. Or even Oh My Yog, or not Oh My Yog, just Yog Saron, randomly selecting one of 6 abilities that randomly do something else. Like,
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's some good, and then it goes too far.
Yeah, and that's the, you know, that's the really the crux of this episode is that we all enjoy the game for different reasons, and especially the designers of Hearthstone and the developers of Hearthstone enjoy this game for a different reason than we do. They can't please everybody. We can't always be happy. I think
So they choose to please no one.
Right, they please no one. But part of the fun for me is actually these debates, and that's one of the reasons why I love Hearthstone, is because of the shows like this and streaming and all that. And Ecore, I love what you do over on your channel, man. So everybody, make sure you go over and watch that video that we did over on his channel about the mini set. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and a like. And in the meantime, stay hype, and we'll see you next week.